Welcome back, friends, to another New World video. So in a recent Forged in Eternum episode, Scott Lane, game director for New World, shared with us that a major announcement is coming for New World at the Summer Games Fest, which starts on the 7th of June this year.
So why is June important? A few reasons. One, it allows us to create a moment because we are planning to announce something pretty big that's going to impact a lot of the players, both old and new. But also, there's this thing called Summer Game Fest that happens in June, and it's a place that we can hit a broad audience with the announcement. It allows us to have a little more impact, and it just makes most sense from the game side to do it that way.
Now, what I want to do during this video is outline some theories as to what is likely going to be announced during this event and provide you guys with the evidence that supports these speculations. Now, the first piece of content that I want to talk about is the addition of a PvP island or a PvP zone. Now, this was accidentally leaked during a PTR or public test server for Season 5. Me and a bunch of other players noticed that upon crossing a threshold at the bottom of Cutlass Keys, you would automatically become flagged for PvP, and there would be a pop-up basically saying that you're flagged for free-for-all or FFA PvP. After this happens, you could attack anyone, even if they're in the same faction as you, even if they're in the same company as you. There was no parties, no grouping. It was basically a free-for-all. Along with this, new perks also appeared in the files of the game that referenced a PvP zone, and specifically also referenced Season 7, which makes sense because that would kind of line up with a June announcement and then the actual update sort of coming around September, October, basically when Amazon does their big update for the year every year so far. Now, Scott Lane also mentions that a huge part of the announcement in June will be a PvP thing.
A huge part of the announcement is going to be a new PvP thing. Can't really say what it is.
So this seems very, very likely what we're going to see. A chunk of land added to the bottom of Cutlass Keys that requires you to always be PvP flagged while in the zone, and hopefully will involve the ability to collect special resources and gear that work specifically for this area. Now, PvP always-on zones have worked pretty well in other MMOs, for example, Cyrodiil in Elder Scrolls Online and the Wilderness in RuneScape. Now, interestingly enough, New World used to have a PvP always active zone. It was Murkgard. When you entered Murkgard in the alpha, you would be flagged for criminal intent, meaning that you could attack anybody, but they could also attack you. The loot in Murkgard was pretty good for the end game of New World back then, as it still is now with all the chest runs. But criminal intent back then meant you would also drop your inventory upon death. So perhaps they might bring that back for the free-for-all PvP zone. That would make it pretty hardcore, and I'm sure it would excite quite a few players for, getting some potential loot off of the enemies they kill. Now, the next thing, and also the most likely thing that I think is going to be announced for New World at the Summer Games Fest is a console release. Most likely for Xbox, but also potentially for PlayStation 5 as well. Now, if this is true, and it does happen, it will likely increase New World's player count quite drastically. Right now, the game is often hovering below 10,000 concurrent, and with a huge surge of console players, even if it's only half of what we got when New World initially came out on Steam for PC, we'd still be looking at hundreds of thousands of players. Now, of course, whether they'll stick around, whether the game will be less buggy than the PC release, that's another question. But from the very standpoint of just getting into a server and potentially seeing a queue again, although hopefully not too big of a queue, I think one of the things that makes New World special and when New World really feels its best is when you walk through Windsward or leave Everfall, and there's just, players as far as the eye can see. The game thrives off of the social nature of it, which I do believe is something that Amazon need to focus more on, but that's a video for another time. Either way, the idea that we're going to see a lot of players back in the game again, and most likely fresh start servers to accommodate those players, I think is going to be good for the game, provided that PC does have the ability to crossplay with them. If it's like a separate version of the game on console, then that's not really looking too good for the PC community. But either way, because of a overwhelming amount of evidence, first of all, their Lord of the Rings MMO that they're working on, which is being made by New World devs using New World's game engine. They're publishing that on PC and console. There's also files in the game, quests that reference a console pre-release. Recently, as of Season 5, there's been a huge effort towards getting controller working for the game and giving native controller support. Now, Amazon has referenced multiple times that they're short on time and resources, but they also say that a lot of time and resources went into controller support. So unless they just really want to cater to the somewhat small percentage of the player base that do play with a controller, I think this is more a setup for the future, in my opinion, and that's why there's been so much focus on controller. Another piece of evidence that supports this as well is Amazon is hiring people. They're hiring positions for people to bring their games to to Xbox and PlayStation. Now, they do have multiple MMOs that they publish, so this could be another project. But again, I feel like there really is a very, very strong amount of evidence that Amazon is bringing the game to console, if nothing else, just because it's another platform which they can sell the game on. And I think that's one of the main ways that Amazon makes revenue, because this game is buy to play. There's no subscription model, and honestly, the skins in the store, as you can see what I'm wearing right now, they do make you look pretty goofy, so not that many people buy things on the store. So I believe most of this game's revenue comes from sales, and they can drum up a lot of sales if they can bring it to a brand new market like Xbox or PlayStation. So yeah, the good news is console will come out and will likely bring in a lot of players, hopefully fresh start servers, which, you know, that's always pretty hype as well. That was really hype the first time that was announced, the player numbers spiking pretty significantly, but I do believe that is a very, very likely announcement that we will get at Summer Games Fest as well. One other thing that we're likely to see announced for New World during Summer Games Fest is the addition of swimming. For those of you not aware, other than the sort of butterfly breaststroke seizure move that I'm doing right now, there is basically no swimming in New World. Whenever you go into river, deep water, the ocean, you just basically walk along the bottom of the riverbed. Now, in a community Q&A video, a questions and answers, Scott said that they can't really give us any information about the June announcement, you know, under pain of death. It seemed like many times he said that they want to, but they can't give information, which is, again, more likely marketing, and that they have a deal with Microsoft and Sony that they can't, you know, unveil the details until Summer Games Fest. But he did say that they want to give clever ways to give information, or like hints as to what is going to be added in June. And then towards the end of a video later on, the same video that we talked about at the beginning of this video, they started making a lot of swimming puns.
I hope I didn't drown you with too many questions.
I am so, first off, you're welcome, but I'm really excited for your new show. I think you're going to be swimming in compliments, and you're going to make a massive splash with the players. It's awesome. The one thing I really hope, though, is that you talk to other people on the team, because you don't want to dive in with me anymore. I think like seeing more faces will help this group a lot.
Now, obviously, this seems pretty on the nose, so yeah, I think likely we're going to see swimming added to the game in some way, shape, or form. Whether it will get like a trade skill to support it, like we did with riding, or there'll be scuba gear, things that you can craft, things that you can gather at the bottom of an ocean. Maybe the PvP island will involve swimming in some way. Remains to be seen, or it's just going to be an animation that plays now instead of just walking. Either way, swimming, although seemingly like not really an important thing for the game, it is something that comes up fairly frequently that I see from players. It's like, is there mounts in the game, and is there swimming in the game? People who haven't played New World since release, there are mounts. You can mount up now. I can't because I'm in a restricted area, but we still don't have any swimming. But that, again, seems to be a likely addition to the game, probably around the same sort of Season 7, September, October, but being announced at the Summer Games Fest in June. Now, these were the content additions that I thought there was the most solid evidence for. There is a few other things floating around there, like new types of mounts. So I've seen some data mining for a bear mount, but I didn't think that would be, you know, particularly too exciting to include in the video. It doesn't really change the game in any way, shape, or form. You might have noticed that during PvP Island section, during the perks, there's also perks that list a raid as well. It does also seem that a raid is being added to Cutlass Keys, so likely that Cutlass Keys is getting the First Light treatment, where they're just going to change it into a new zone and add a lot more meaningful content there, like they did with the Elysian Wilds to some degree. Remember, the content not so meaningful, but nonetheless, Cutlass Keys seems to be like it's going to become one of the new sort of endgame zones, the replace zones. And yeah, we're getting a raid in there, but there's not too much details on it. It seems to feature Medusa, according to the files of the game, who is an enemy that you kind of fight in the Elysian Wilds, so it kind of makes sense to add that on. Why she's over on Cutlass Keys, I guess it's just next to the Elysian Wilds, and then obviously getting the PvP zone as well. So yeah, having perks and gear that is specifically tailored towards the raid and towards the PvP island gives us kind of more to grind for, which I'm excited for. Maybe it's not super casual friendly, but you know, I do like myself some hardcore raiding, and you know, some potential like loot loss PvP does sound pretty fun as well. But I didn't want to drag this video out too long. I just wanted to give you guys the 3 most solid pieces of evidence that we have for a June announcement. We've got about 4 to 5 weeks at time of recording from when this video goes out. So yeah, let me know if any of these things that we talked about excite you guys. Is there anything else that you're hoping they're going to announce? I know a lot of people are saying they're just going to announce the shutdown of the game, but no, I actually do believe that New World does have a pretty exciting end to the year with 2024. It is quite grim right now, but we'll be watching together. So if you guys want to bring some snacks, some popcorn, some drinks along, I'm going to be watching Summer Games Fest on my stream, keeping my eyes peeled for the New World news. If you can't watch the stream live, I'll of course have a YouTube video as well, so make sure you subscribe for that one. Like this video if you like the video, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.